with Betty. Brought to you by Nivea Radiant and Beauty Advanced Care.
New Nivea Radiant and Beauty Advanced Care. With 5 oils and 5 vitamins. 48-hour nourishment. Helps reduce appearance of stretch marks in just 2 weeks. New Nivea Radiant and Beauty Advanced Care. For your shade of beautiful.
All right, and welcome back to this Friday. Thank you so much for staying with us. Thank you for all the messages I'm seeing on my socials. Keep them coming. Well, we are just about to have a very interesting conversation. Sorry about that. But before we get to that, I know Willis would give me a beating for saying conversations. Let's just link up quickly with him to just say a quick hello. Willis, how are you? You're on standby in Kisii County. How are you tonight?
I'm fine, Betty, and I believe you are equally fine because from your talking or your speech, it's just getting clearer and clearer and tougher.
Oh my goodness, thank you so much, Willis. Tonight, Willis, we have, the Gen Z, the passionate, everybody's saying Kenya's future is in good hands because of how the young people are coming out very, very strong. I don't know what your sentiments are really about, this people who are coming out very stronger than ever before, having seen in this country.
Betty, I would begin by saying other times, other manners, and other things. Now, when you talk about the Gen Z or the Generation Z, you'd realize that they have proved that Kenya has a future where the brain talks more than the brawn. They are eloquent. If you listen to them talk, then that power of the speech, clarity, the diction itself, you just feel, yes, this is where even the likes of Betty with their great English really belong in terms of communication. Betty, that is my take as Willis.
All right, Willis, the other thing, of course, we are just eager to know, apart from the conversation we'll be having tonight, what have you prepared for us on which is which? Which is that word that is going to be a surprise tonight, Willis?
Well, Betty, there is a word here, fairly long or a mouthful if you like, and I know those who are testing their tongues with this word must be getting it or not getting it, because sometimes tongue twisters can really confuse people. But as I always say, it can be tricky but manageable, Betty.
All right, Willis, I really do appreciate it. Well, looking forward to the segments tonight. I've also seen quite a number of people asking, okay, tell Willis to tell us which is which, this and this. So looking forward to the top of the hour where we'll be coming back to you, Willis, for which is which. Stay put with us. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, having touched base with Willis, we're now just going to get straight into this conversation with this amazing ladies and gentlemen. I'll just basically introduce them, but I want you guys to also introduce yourselves. I mean, I've seen you here before. Very eloquent, these guys are so powerful on social media, and it's so great to have you guys in studio. So Zaha, I'll start with you. Maybe you can just introduce yourself very quickly, what you do, so that people at home can be able to know who are they talking to us tonight.
Okay. Yeah. My name is Zaha Ndimuli. I'm a human rights defender. I serve at End Femicide KE movement, but I'm also the executive director at a Mali organization.
Geez, at what age?
I'm 23.
What? I mean, 23, I'm still trying to figure things out. You're all those things. Well, well done.
Thank you.
All right, let's go to Duncan.
My name is Ian Duncan Kago Dibaba, Emeritus MKU student leader. I've been working as a psychologist and also as a champion of mental health towards men called Come Let's Talk, and ambassador from Nasha Ministry International.
Lovely. So why men's health? Just very briefly.
Because we are the most left out in the community, and people we say we are okay, but you're not okay inside. Okay. We tend to keep things inside. So.
All right. Yeah. Lovely. Olive, yes. Talk to us.
Okay, my name is Olive Ambrose. I'm a beautician, makeup artist, and hairdresser.
Oh, lovely.
Yes.
How old, if you don't
29.
mind? 29. Okay, there we go. Duncan, you didn't tell us how.
27.
All right, great. Peter?
Hello, I'm Kibet Peterson, procurement and supply chain manager, and also a digital strategist. Yeah, I'm a former alumni of Mount Kenya University.
Okay.
And also one of the Gen Z.
It's like these days it's like such a privilege to be called Gen Zs, yeah? Until the other day, you know, I'm millennial, but you know, I'm like millennial, but you know, kind of like still Gen Z kidogo. All right, guys, I'm gonna start this conversation. Probably I'll start with you, Olive. And the conversation lately, the last couple of, sorry, not Olive, but Zaha, sorry. The conversation has been like, do you still feel that the president is listening to Gen Zs right now with everything that is happening? Yeah.
I think it would be mediocre for us to say that anybody there is listening, and it's not really to put them in a place where we're looking like we're debunking on how to cover up for their places. But I think a listening president would literally have whatever the people are saying being fully manifested in the physical attainments of what he's doing in government. But here we are seeing a government that is literally doing the opposite of what people want. Rather, the things that people are complaining about is exactly what we're seeing implemented. And I think all the way from the beginning of the protest, going all the way to the fact that we are having the choir massacre, we're now having a situation whereby young people are actually a target. And when you see a president who's willing to kill and abduct and torturize his own children in the nation, as they keep calling us, which I also feel is very mediocre again, because the youngest Gen Z is 12 and the oldest is 29. So we're looking also at people who really don't want to centralize on the ideological spaces that we young people want. And so if it's a matter of us seeing the finance bill ended, the finance bill was ended, but we're not seeing that being replicated on a writing back to Parliament. We're seeing the Parliament saying that they're done with recess. We're back to discussing the same thing we just told them. And I don't see how it's so difficult for them to just get things right, which I think for us, I think I've been even on the medical spaces whereby you're seeing police actually shooting and tear gassing us at the medical tent when you're also having police officers receiving help. So we're dealing with people who are on stone cast that we really don't want to listen. And quickly the political class is also settling in to protect their interests. And we're having young people having to go back to the streets over and over again. So I don't think he's really listening. And if he is, then we do have a problem with communication.
Okay, interesting. Duncan, just coming to you. Of course, yesterday the bill was rejected with all its entirety, so it's not there. But do you feel like that's the end? Maybe the president's like, okay, you guys wanted this finance bill, out. It's out. Now can you let me work and make sure that the country still has unity and we can still forge forward in the next coming years before we get to the election date?
First of all, I think there is nothing like unity in this country. They're just putting it's about ethnical groups, like how many numbers do you have and how many numbers do I have. So what they're really doing is that they're calling people from different groups to come and join together. But what we're doing right now is like the Kenya that we want for the future. Like saying that this is the Kenya that we want as Gen Z, because we're getting married, never looking where you come from, your ethnic group, where you come from, how much money do you have. It's all about like what we want for the future and the future for our kids. Right. Because we're going to get married in Kenyans. I don't want to go outside. I want to live here in Kenya. I want to die here and everything. So when they're saying everything, they deal with the bill and everything. When I take to look back, I'm like, if you look at the numbers that people they have selected, they're just the old monkeys, man. They're just recycling people, and there's no Gen Z represented there. There are no Gen Z. I think the youngest is 32 years old. That's a millennial, and no Gen Z even one. So nobody's listening. Yeah.
So you feel like Gen Zs would have taken any of the CS positions and actually ran with it?
Actually, like sports. Yeah. They don't understand what you're doing. They don't understand what they're doing. Yeah. A lawyer coming to present people in industry of sports. What is he doing there? Doesn't even know what sports is.
He's not even sporty. Is he? It's just looking at the, everything that's been happening, and it's been almost like, 2 months. Olive, just coming to you, you said you're a hairdresser, you're a beautician, you're a makeup artist, like the proper, the things that, everybody right now is doing. What is it that you'd want, the president or the leadership of this country to do at this point? They're saying that we've listened to you, give us a bit more time. Are there specific issues that you'd want him to deal with right now? As much as he's saying, I've dealt with this already.
First of all, I don't think he has actually listened to us completely. He has not, because we said we do not want these CSs, and they've been brought back to us. So for us, we feel like we're talking to someone who's deaf, or someone who does not want to listen to actually actualize what the youth of his country are saying. Yeah. So I don't think he has listened to us at all. And the level of unemployment right now is very high for the youth. Like the youth have they're almost giving up, you see. So with us being jobless, you do not expect us to keep quiet and not talk about it while we see people living a flashy life, and you come and tell us we need to pay the taxes as well. You see, so we don't. The level of unemployment is very high.
It's very high.
It's very high.
So that should be one of the biggest.
It should be one of the
priorities.
Yes.
All right, Peter. That time you went to the streets. You went to the protests.
Sure, yeah.
You did?
Yeah, we did.
So as the very first point, talk to me about the reason why you felt like, for real, this time round, we have to go. And how many times did you go, and are you willing to keep going to these protests?
The first thing that is affecting this country actually is nepotism and inequality. People from low life are not represented. Our parents, the millennials, they have not been able to be heard by the government before. Now the Gen Z, we have risen up and we have said enough is enough. We cannot take this anymore. We went to the streets because our issues are pressing. For example, the economy of this country is really going down to the trenches. And when we talk, the president is not able to listen. For example, you see the representation in the cabinet that he recently appointed yesterday, the final 11, there is no even one Gen Z. That is like showing us almost, for lack of a better word, the middle finger. But the president should be able to listen.
Well, no, maybe not that, but...
Yeah, we feel that the president is not listening to us, the youths. For example, now you see the opposition is really reaping big from the proceeds of Gen Z.
Yes.
If we had not gone to the streets, the opposition could not have come to the government, and the broad-based government could not have been formed currently. Now we feel that there's still lack of representation from the youths.
Okay. Yeah, he's brought in such a big issue about a hijacking of the movement. It started from, now we have looters on the streets. It started as peaceful protests. Now we have looters. So that's why everybody has to get off the streets. How do you feel about that hijacking? That, it was a movement led by Gen Z. And then now we're seeing all these other, nominations being brought about because of this thing that happened, because of this whole revolution by you guys.
I think one thing we're not also getting is the fact that we really still remain leaderless. We remain formless, as they keep saying it. And so even when people hijack the movement is still able to carry on its purpose with or without opposition. And I think what they all did as a political class is that they united us against them. And I think for us, they made our work pretty easy.
Is it?
Because by virtue of
you can't go to the streets, like peacefully.
We can.
They're still, throwing the tear gas. They're still.
You see, the good thing about our era is the Cool Affair initiative. So we're also telling the goons, you go get the money, it's our taxes anyway. You go get that money. After you get that money because you fully deserve it, get back to the streets. And you're also seeing a situation whereby in Mombasa, they paid guys to, fill in the presidential...
well, that is, we would not know, or, exactly.
So allegedly.
Yeah.
And you see, the good thing about social media is that we're able to also see raw emotions from Kenyans. And so we're having people, honestly, even if it's alleged, you cannot be having people saying, hujalipa pesa yetu, out of nowhere. That aside, I think what we're waiting as the next public holidays when Raila Odinga actually fails the AU bid. Why? Because I feel like in this particular appropriate part, as people who have been put in place to be the watchdogs of the government, you cannot have the chairman of ODM joining the cabinet seat. And you see, for me, I was expecting, out of respect even to the Gen Z movement, is that these people are supposed to say, thank you, Mr. President, but no thank you. But we're seeing the political class actually associating itself with the precedents that we've had from the protest. And this is not the first time that's why we're saying this is Raila's fourth handshake. And so for us, we're not our parents, so we're very used to Raila doing his same old thing. We know that game. And we want them to understand that with or without the opposition, this movement continues to flow. Even if I, as Zaha, step away, Boniface steps away, this thing, people have been waking up to go to the protest without any call to action. And so I don't think they're categorically looking at the fact that we're having young people who have actually gone to school, who have had their degrees, who have done their masters, but it's absolutely impossible for you to exist in any single industry, in any single spaces, without you having that handout to give. And so we're not looking at who exactly is getting a cabinet position. By the way, I really don't think I care about who actually sits there. I just want you to be aware that I will keep you on your toes as you work for me, because it's my money. You see, the same energy they put in collecting our taxes is the same energy we are putting in actually getting accountability.
Right.
So if our work and our process in the protest triggers, their mediocrity, their arrogance, because we're also dealing with politicians who are so opulent that you're having MPs telling us to our faces that I really don't care even if you don't vote me out next time, I've stolen from me and my generation. And for people to have so much courage, it's a whole political class backing you up. This is the same politicians who we are seeing being caught with hundreds of millions. And you see, for you to say that it was very, very easy for them to get a helicopter to get politicians out of a protest, it was so difficult for them to get people out of the floods. Right. For me, I feel like it should be a trigger for them to actually not see that we can see through the manipulation, through the empty promises, through the lies. I think it's just time they actually know that it's time to pack bags and actually exit.
Okay, well said. Duncan, do you think that, the Gen Z movement is kind of losing momentum? Because that has been a conversation the last couple of days, maybe even from last week, because the numbers that we were seeing when we started, or when you guys started, when the Gen Z movement started, well, we saw these huge numbers, but of course, because of maybe aggression from the police, it has kind of like slowed down. Do you feel like, Gen Z still have that momentum to keep going? I'm seeing there, there's Nane coming up in a couple of days. Do you think that there's still that motivation for them to still go out? Or do you feel a part of them really has been affected by the president, like you said, not listening?
Actually, our adrenalines works very well, and the energy is there. A lot of energy is there. We have nothing to lose, actually. Because when you look at someone who
What do you mean like you have nothing to lose? That's a very strong statement.
Yeah. Because you see, when you have no sense of future, you have no sense of reality and what's happening in the country. That means you have nowhere to go. And that's a strong thing to say, like, we don't know where we are going. That's why we are going in the street. And when you saw the other time on the parliament, when someone was shot, people keep on jumping over and carrying the body. So like, we have nothing to lose. We're going there, and the energy is there. Because I think these people, they don't listen. They have not been listening everywhere. But now things will change. The narrative will change. It's the Kenya that we want. It's not that they want. It's the Kenya that we want. It's moving forward. So for me, I'm looking, it's like a futuristic thing. Like, we are going to set goals. We are going to have, it's a movement, it's not a political party. That's why people can hijack it and say, like, we own it. Nobody owns it, it's a movement.
But don't you think maybe, there's conversations of maybe it's time that Gen Z has a face that can go to the table and also negotiate for, okay, how about you give us this? How about you do this for us? But that as long as you remain faceless, there's no point of conversation, there's no point of negotiation.
What's that up?
I'm so triggered. I'm so triggered. And just so that I don't cut you short, because I know you have such an important point, and I bless your heart for that. But I feel like, you see, I don't need to be in a room to sit you in a meeting that would cost 100 million probably, because hospitality there is like tea is like $500. I don't need to be in a room for you to understand what you need to do. And you see, aside from even us as Gen Z, the Constitution literally tells you to direction what exactly your mandate in the office is. It's very narcissistic, Betty. So right now we have a femicide case. It's very narcissistic for me to come and tell you, okay, don't kill me. So it's the same way I feel like it's actually very unusual that we have to come to the streets to tell you your priorities in the budgeting should be on education, healthcare, and maybe matters gender, because this country is also systemically unequal. We also have a very unconstitutional parliament because it's not fitting the 2/3 rule. We're also having the president giving us a whole cabinet list with barely countable women. So I feel like it's continue.
Okay, before we get to
what we need is actually a national assembly for Gen Z. We need to have a charter.
But is that possible?
It's possible.
Technically speaking,
it's possible. But when you're leaderless, because you don't want to say, I'm the one leading, you are the one leading. So if you arrest someone of us, you can say, that's the wrong guy. So
even talking about the representation, who's going to say, okay, let's send Olive, let's send Peter, let's send Zaha? Who's going to be that person who fronts these people?
All of us.
But we cannot see them
already in office. This movement is to remind them of their job. It's so weird.
But how have a leader?
Don't you think that maybe there should be like a design so that there is a way to go up? Because you can't say like you're going to talk to all like 5 million of us.
They don't even talk to all of us.
They don't talk to all of us.
Okay, Olives, please, just pick up.
Like, for me, I think producing a leader right now, it will be like putting someone up for abduction, getting jailed and whatnot, because the people who are very vocal are getting abducted.
Yeah.
They're getting jailed. Like today, someone was told they're going to stay for 21 days in jail until they were released.
Yeah, they were released. Yeah.
But then, if right now I come out as a leader, or Ian or Dan comes out as a leader, then it means it's like you're going up to be caught or getting killed.
But yesterday on the
whatnot.
news, there was a press conference by, I think you saw it, but by Casmil, I think Heso, Njeri. There's like a couple of people who now seemingly are coming out as the voice to the Gen Z, saying that, you know, these are our demands. So have they been fronted?
No, that's a correct word. They're a voice. So you see, just because somebody categorically is on the front line does not necessarily mean we have chosen any leader. And also, I think there has to be a lot of flexibility, honestly. Democracy is representative, and depending on what democracy in a country chooses to take, I think even when we vote, it's all of us who vote, and then we put our categorical votes on one person, which I think is what people are trying to do right now. It's more of, it's an ideological movement. So whoever fits the barrier, because again, fronting a leader actually puts a barrier on every other potential person we might actually get to miss out on. So it's whether there's somebody today who's a spotlight, tomorrow it's Shakira, tomorrow it's Casmuel. All those small efforts are exactly what got us here in the first place. So fronting a leader becomes us repeating the same democracy system they have. And I think it's okay. When we get to the ballot, the person who feels like their potential candidate, we will scrutinize you, and if upon any particular effort needed, we will give it to you.
Right.
But I think it's high time we stop looking at politics very linearly.
Okay.
People have done it better in so many other ways.
Peter, let me hear your voice about now. This movement has started. It's gained momentum, and people, you know, panicked. You know? So in the coming years before 2027, how else is the Gen Z preparing itself to make sure that, okay, fine, you've seen the political class can literally go to a corner, reorganize, do everything, and then come back and, you know, impose. So what is there a conversation that is ongoing about, okay, wase tuko hapa sasa, in the next 2 years or 3 or whatever, we need to now start doing 1 or 2 things to change the whole thing, not just protests, because at the end of the day, it has to have an end somehow.
First things first, Betty. As Gen Z, we are a movement and we are not a political party. The moment we front leaders,
so you're against fronting leaders?
We are against fronting leaders, because when you front leaders, they will have a price, definitely. For example, you see Osama Otero. He just started a group thing.
Do you want to go there?
I know.
Yeah, because he claims that he is one of the Gen Z actually, but he was bought.
Okay, well, alleged, you know, this thing, you know, we're not sure, we were not there when, you're sure?
Yeah.
It's alleged.
We cannot be sure about that. We cannot be sure. But yeah, the story is known out there about what happened that day for the X meetup, but allegedly, nobody knows.
Yeah. Osama Otero allegedly was. Okay, going into...
No, let's not investigate that. Let's focus.
Going into 2027, we need to form something like a charter, and we have to be a strong voice through having a movement. We don't want to do the same thing like our forefathers used to do and the current crop of leaders are doing. Like now you see the opposition has been government, and there is no opposition currently in this country. The opposition is the Gen Z themselves. And for lack of a better word again, there is no way these guys are going to show us a middle finger while we are seeing.
You're really pushing that agenda.
Yeah, because we feel that we are being disrespected as the Gen Zs, and we have said enough is enough. So going into 2027, we want to urge each and every one of the young youths and Gen Z to check their votes, so that going into 2027 we have a better voice. We'll vote in new crop of leaders and young people who feel our issues and can represent as well. Yep.
Okay, coming back to you, Zahar. Just thinking about, just a follow-up to what he's just said. Fine, you get the voters' cards and everything. But what is the vision of a leader coming into, 2027, for instance? For you to be president, of course, you have to be 35 years of age. So even if, the Gen Z are feeling, okay, Ruto must go, there's still, it's not that, it's technical, it's more technical than that.
Yeah.
So what also is your opinion with regard to just moving from this, phenomenon of protests to something that is more concrete, about your voice being solidified, heard, and maintained? Not that it's a voice that's going to be like, wali protest zile siku za June, wameisha, sasa sio wamenyamaza. Yeah.
So I think one of the few things that actually come out very strongly from this discussion is the fact that we forget also that Gen Z is a facet. Even our parents are identifying as Gen Z, courtesy of the fact that they're feeling progressively we're able to stand up for things that they never had a chance to. And we're also having our siblings who are millennials, also looking at people who have also had a lot of traumatic times. These are people who also experienced Moi, coming all the way to Kibaki. We're looking at a generation whereby I think we're the spark of the bloom, courtesy of the fact that maybe we're in a space also where it's not very linear to just go in the streets. And I think that's what I want actually to debunk. Reasons as to why I feel like progressively this is exactly what is supposed to be happening, is that as the protests are happening physically, protests are also happening online. And I'll give a very good example. In January, we did the End Femicide KE protests. Mind you, we never met. Everything was done online. And proactively, we were able to also engage people who would never even have understood what femicide is as a whole. And it gave a very good blueprint of what exactly digital activism would look like. And so right now, you're having a young person's generation that is very articulate in the digital spaces. We're also having the highest number of ICT fellas. So we're also looking at people who are not just on the ground protesting, but also looking at very, very many different facets of digital activism. A key example is Civil Rise. Civil Rise translated the finance bill to literal vernacular languages. So we had the finance bill in Kikuyu, the finance bill in Kamba. And I think that automatically, and that's why you're seeing a lot of Western countries are very interested in what is all happening in Kenya, because the movement itself is able to, we're also having Nigeria coming in, we're having Ghana saying they want to protest. So automatically when you have such a wave, even during the spring of the Arab, it is a matter of what is the ideological move. And the ideological move in Gen Z, I don't even think, trust me, we are buddies, you can imagine. So we really don't want her to be in an office, seated there, I promise you. So you're having people who are actually saying, I want you to get to task so that I'm able to be the best person that I can actually be. And so the transition that I feel would work would not just actually even us just only getting voters cards and going to vote, but equally understanding what my rights as a citizen in the country, what does the Constitution provide for me wholly.
Zaha.
And that understanding is then, I think it's the most beautiful thing about it.
You've seen a lot of, education, civil education, all over the place, even in the streets. I saw one in Jivanji.
Even shoshos are saying, reject the finance bill, which is powerful. We haven't seen that in such a long time.
Okay. So we'll take a short commercial break, but we're coming back to finalize on this conversation. I'll also take a look at what you're saying online, so don't go away. Stay with us.